Cholesterol explained without the fear. Few words at a checkup land as heavily as cholesterol. The doctor frowns at a number and suddenly eggs feel dangerous and your future feels negotiable. But most of the fear around cholesterol comes from simply not understanding it. In India, a nationwide study found that more than 8 in 10 adults have at least one cholesterol or triglyceride abnormality, and we tend to run into heart trouble younger than many populations. That sounds alarming. Yet your cholesterol is also one of the most knowable and most changeable numbers in all of medicine. So let's take the villain costume off. Cholesterol isn't poison. Your body makes it on purpose every single day because it needs it. It's in the wall of every cell. It's the raw material for your hormones, for vitamin D, for the bile that digests your food. You could not live without it, so the problem was never that cholesterol exists. The problem is having too much of the wrong kind circulating for too long. Here's how that happens. Cholesterol can't dissolve in blood, so it travels packed inside tiny carriers called lipoproteins. You know their nicknames. LDL carries cholesterol out to your tissues, and when there's too much of it for too long, those particles slip into your artery walls and slowly build up. That buildup is plaque, and it forms quietly over years. HDL works the other way, helping carry cholesterol back toward the liver for recycling and disposal. So it's less good versus bad and more delivery versus return. And here's the part that catches people. You cannot feel any of this. High cholesterol has no symptom, no ache, no warning, nothing you'd notice in the mirror. The plaque builds silently for decades, and for many people the very first sign is a heart attack or a stroke. So I feel fine means almost nothing here. The only way to know your cholesterol is to measure it, a simple blood test called a lipid panel. The sign most people miss is a test never taken. Now, the food question, because this is where the fear gets loudest. For decades we were told to fear cholesterol on the plate, eggs, prawns, organ meats, but the science shifted. For most people, the cholesterol you eat raises your blood cholesterol far less than we once believed. The bigger levers are different ones: too much saturated and trans fat, the deep-fried and heavily processed stuff, the vanaspati, and a steady flood of refined carbs and sugar. So an egg is not your enemy. A daily pile of fried, refined food quietly is much closer. Some people do respond more strongly to the cholesterol they eat, but they are the exception, not the rule. And this gets personal if you're South Asian, because our cholesterol tends to misbehave in a particular way. We're prone to a pattern doctors call atherogenic, lower levels of the protective HDL, higher triglycerides, and smaller, denser LDL particles that do more damage. In that same Indian study, low HDL was the single most common problem in roughly 2 out of 3 adults. Combine that with developing heart disease younger, and it means your numbers can look almost normal on paper and still carry real risk. For us, context matters more, not less. There's also one number almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one you've never measured. It's called lipoprotein A, or Lp(a). It's a cholesterol particle you inherit from your parents, set largely by your genes, and South Asians often run high. Standard diet and lifestyle barely touch it, which is exactly why it slips through. The good news: you only need to measure it once in your whole life, and international guidelines increasingly recommend that every adult have it checked at least once. It matters all the more if heart disease runs early in your family. Let's also name the number riding quietly along on your report: triglycerides. They're not technically cholesterol, but they tell a story. High triglycerides alongside low HDL is the classic fingerprint of insulin resistance, the very same engine behind prediabetes. So cholesterol and blood sugar are often two windows onto one problem. There's a louder flag here too. Very high triglycerides can inflame the pancreas, which is a real emergency, and they're often pushed that high by heavy alcohol, uncontrolled diabetes, or an inherited condition. But mostly, they're a nudge toward the same habits that steady your blood sugar. So who actually needs to pay attention? Honestly, most adults should simply know their numbers. But pay closer attention if you have a parent or sibling who had heart disease early, before about 55 in men, 65 in women. If you smoke, if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or prediabetes, if your waist is climbing, if you have chronic kidney disease, if you're South Asian, and simply as you get older. There's also an inherited condition worth knowing about. if your LDL is strikingly high or several close relatives developed heart disease young. Your doctor may check for one called familial hypercholesterolemia. Because remember, your cholesterol number is never read alone. It's read inside the whole picture of your risk, and this is exactly why none of it needs to land as fear. No fear, just the why. Of all the things that raise your risk of a heart attack, cholesterol is one of the most measurable and one of the most treatable. A high number isn't a verdict on your future. It's information, early, useful, and almost always something you can act on. Finding it is the good news, not the bad. So what does the test actually tell you? A lipid panel breaks your cholesterol into parts: total, the LDL we want lower, the HDL we'd like higher, and triglycerides. As rough orientation, many labs flag a total above 200 or triglycerides above 150. They'll also highlight an LDL above 100. But whether that number is fine for you depends entirely on your overall cardiovascular risk. Some doctors look closely at one more figure, called non-HDL cholesterol, because it captures all the particles that drive plaque. But please hear this clearly, there is no single right number for everyone. The higher your risk, the lower your doctor will aim. Your report is read in your context, never against a video. Now, what genuinely moves these numbers? More soluble fiber, oats, beans, and lentils, fruit and vegetables, which literally helps carry cholesterol out. Swapping saturated fat for healthier fats, nuts, seeds, olive or mustard oil, fatty fish. Easing off refined carbs, sugary drinks, and deep-fried food. Moving your body regularly, one of the few things that genuinely lifts the protective HDL and lowers triglycerides. Not smoking. And protecting your sleep and your weight. In fact, if you're carrying extra weight, losing even 5 to 10% of it often nudges triglycerides down and HDL up. None of these are dramatic. Together, over months, they reshape the whole pattern. But here's an honest truth that spares a lot of guilt. For some people, lifestyle alone isn't enough because so much of your cholesterol is written into your genes. That's where statins come in, and few medicines are more feared online and more reassuring in the evidence. Statins don't just lower a number. Across decades of large trials, they lower heart attacks and strokes, partly by making existing plaques more stable and less likely to rupture. And most people take them without major trouble. Many of the muscle symptoms people dread turn out, when carefully studied, not to be caused by the medicine at all. And if you're South Asian, your body may handle statins differently, so your doctor may start low and go slow. They aren't permission to eat anything, and they aren't a personal failure. They're a tool chosen with your doctor for your level of risk. Never started or stopped because of a video. So if you take one thing from this, you cannot feel your cholesterol, so the move is to know it, then change what you can. Get a lipid panel if it's been a while. If heart disease runs early in your family, ask about LPA once. And if you're on a statin, don't quietly stop it, talk to your doctor first. Want it all on a single page: the numbers, the South Asian pattern, the food swaps, the questions to ask? Comment the word honest and we'll send you the free cholesterol cheat sheet. If this made cholesterol feel a little less frightening and a lot more workable, subscribe. That's exactly what we're here for. We make health make sense. Pattern, the food swaps, the questions to ask. Comment the word honest and we'll send you the free cholesterol cheat sheet. If this made cholesterol feel a little less frightening and a lot more workable, subscribe. That's exactly what we're here for. We make health make sense. One note, this is